Hello, Nancy. How are you?
Good. How are you, Diana?
I'm wonderful. I'm so happy to see you. I love your incredibly vibrant, alive backdrop on your Zoom screen. So thank you for being here, and thank you for agreeing to be one of our inspiring storytellers at the Third Act Quest Stories event at the end of October. So before we chat, I want to have there's so many things I want to ask you, but before we chat, I want to tell everyone a little bit about you. So Nancy is, as she's described, on her sixth personal and professional reboot. And she'll probably hint a little bit today in the conversation on her seventh. At 66, she's a marketing innovator, a brand builder, writer, speaker, and a self-proclaimed rule breaker. And I love this too, because she's very, very passionate about staying at the bleeding edge of technology. And as she says, she has dual citizenship in both the analog and digital worlds. She's a brand growth specialist and a writer. She established her business, as you see on the backdrop there, called The On Switch in 2003, after leading a very highly successful career as a C-level exec at companies like Citibank and MasterCard. She's a champion of cross-generational collaboration and has published, 8 books. I don't know when she does all of this. She's very prolific writer. One of the most notable books for this audience is what is called The Silver Hair Playbook: How to Be a Badass After 60 or Over 60. She also has a very irreverent guide to dating after 50. She publishes a tech site called Embrace the Machine, a travel site called Bleisure Living. I love that. And has 2 beautiful series, one called Route 66 and the other Geezer Proofing. She's a member of the Forbes Agency Council, the Rolling Stones Culture Council, and wrote a column for Inc. called Bots and Bodies about the human side of tech. Okay, so that's a lot to describe, and it's a lot to do. No wonder there have been 6 reboots. My goodness, girl. You are going to be sharing a little bit about your first 66 years and your second 66 in planning. Give us a little bit of an understanding of your life's path.
Okay, absolutely. I tend to look at my past in terms of eras, and I think this is where my corporate career comes into play, where sometimes you have to do like background and an executive summary. So I've gotten very good at sort of condensing very complicated, chaotic things into sound bites. So, I would say that I started out as a kind of as a hippie chick. And then in the 80s, there was a lot of pressure for women to wear big shoulder pads, make big money, buy big houses, nice cars, and also be mothers. So, followed that path, as you said earlier, ended up in the C-suite. Had not really planned that, but once I got on the hamster wheel, it was really hard to get off. Then started my own business at the age of 48. Which is the On Switch, and then realized that writing had always been a real passion of mine. So made my writing career a bigger part of how I made a living. And along the way, I've had personal family tragedy. I lost my father, my younger brother, 2/3 of my right lung when I was in my 30s. I've
Wow.
had my physical challenges along the way. And I've learned through life experience that we are way more resilient than we sometimes give ourselves credit for. And as you mentioned, technology has been pretty much a constant in my life, from the bag phone and the electric typewriter all the way through today, where I also wrote a book about AI, machine learning, and robotics. And I would say 99% of my clients, I'm either using state-of-the-art technology or writing about it or consulting to companies that have next generation technologies. So part of geezer proofing, honestly, is keeping our tech skills really sharp as we age, because it helps us stay connected, enables us to live richer lives. And it has both a social purpose and obviously a professional purpose. You and I
Absolutely.
would never have connected if not for LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, part of your mission, as I see it, and as I read, and I love reading Route 66, I have to say, is this a wonderful piece that I look forward to receiving in my email box. But part of what is a passion of yours is to contribute and inspire and change the way ageism, especially gendered ageism, is affecting us all. So talk to me a little bit about what is your call to action for really starting with us women at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up at I wouldn't say I was in the middle of the feminist movement, but I was very, very aware of the feminist movement as a girl. And remembering how we had to wear skirts to school every day and couldn't take wood shop or electric shop. And, abortion was illegal. And I remember living through that era and realizing that by working together and supporting the cause, we as women could make change. And what's happening now is that it's almost like a regression to a different era, compounded by the fact that we're getting older, and older women are the invisible
Mm,
members of our society. And I do think there's ageism overall in the workplace, but especially I once had a man at a conference who was a speaker. I said to him, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Oh, it's very complicated." And I said, "Try me," because the assumption was, as
wow.
a woman of a certain age, and that I couldn't possibly understand it. But I do think that the ageism is especially heinous because it's not just coming from men as we get older, but it's coming from younger women who look at us, the whole okay boomer thing, or, I'm constantly seeing TikToks and Instagram spoofs where young people are making fun of older people. And it's very common in the media.
Mhm.
The ad world, which is controlled by young people, puts up very, very stereotypic imagery of the older buyer or the older consumer. And I buy the same stuff that my daughters buy, and they're in their 30s, and I probably have more disposable income to spend on some of that stuff. So marketers are really missing a huge segment of the population by not targeting older women. And companies are losing out on a huge, vibrant, seasoned talent base by discriminating against older people, and specifically women. We were talking earlier about, those of us who will occasionally apply for jobs, either because we want to return to corporate or just sort of test the waters.
Uh-huh.
And I can name several instances where the person who was interviewing me, who was in their 20s or 30s, there were all these weasel phrases, as I call them, like, "Oh, you probably want too much money," or "Can you work in this CMS system?" or "We use Asana. Do you know what that is?" So, we just need to fight the good fight the same way we did during the feminist movement, and collaborate with each other as opposed to compete with each other.
Well, and bridging the divide seems to be an incredibly powerful message across all things, whether it be racism, sexism, ageism. We need to connect better with each other. And part of it, I feel, and this may be a little Pollyanna of me, I'm not necessarily as active or activist motivated in the ageism field or the anti-ageism field, but I feel like people like you, people like me, people like the other women that are going to be in the storytelling event, it's not only our responsibility, but it's our gift to help to crack it open by bridging the divide, by explaining and telling our stories, or becoming a human being that may have a lot of wrinkles and be over 60, but has all of those years behind them of wisdom to share. One of the things also, there'll be a woman speaking at the end of our storytelling event, named Tracy Gendron, who wrote a book called Ageism Unmasked. And one of the things that struck me the most, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, is how ageism starts inside us. So there are so many women of a certain age that need to reclaim their sense of power. And I mean power in terms of just vibrancy and possibility of life, instead of shrinking away. And as you say, going to play, pardon any bunco players, but going to play bunco for every, Thursday evening. So talk to me a little bit about what you think we as women of this age can do about bridging this divide more.
Well, something that you're doing, which I think is so important, is you're creating community. And I think that's critical. Is creating a group of women who can really start having these discussions, feeling more empowered, learning from each other, leveraging off of the relationships that we have, and really just continually talking about it. And, fearlessness is something that I think I've always had as a quality, and just not being afraid of that rejection or that pushback, or that age shaming, and really supporting each other in that movement, because it is very much a movement. The other thing that is really key is, proving the naysayers wrong. And you and I were talking a little bit earlier about how, because this world is so driven by technology, not understanding the technology, not being comfortable with the technology, even making statements like, oh, I can't figure out, how to do this on my phone. There's a way to ask for help among younger people that doesn't reinforce the stereotypes. The other thing that I recently started doing, and there are two things, and I plan on doing more of both of them, is I did a stand-up comedy routine back in May.
I love it.
Called I'm Not Your Effing Grandma. And it's what I called, edutainment, which is basically using comedy as a way to educate people about who today's woman over 50 really is. And I may do a reprise of that. I've also been putting together panels at professional conferences called the OG and the Noobs. So I am the OG. I've worked in the marketing space and the business world for a very long time. And I put together a panel of women representing other generations. And we focus on what we have in common and not what divides us. So again, and they're funny, they're short. I'm a real believer in the role of comedy and levity in educating people. And the number of women comics will stand up and complain about menopause or hot flashes or their eyesight. They're not doing us a service. What they're saying may be true, but they're feeding into the stereotype. So I often say, when you see something, say something. And I am notorious. If I see a brand doing something that is ageist, I will out them on their LinkedIn page. I'll write to influencers if they've lost my fandom because they've offended me due to gendered ageism. So yeah, I'm the feisty one and the outspoken one. And my friends who know me say they can't believe that I lasted as long as I did in corporate without getting fired, because I've always spoken up for what I think is right and what's true. And we as women need, as you pointed out, we need to really do the work on ourselves and say, am I running out and getting my neck fixed because I feel like I have to? I did get an estimate to have my neck fixed. It was $20,000. And so I said to a friend, for that, I can go to Italy and buy some cashmere turtlenecks. And I think that would be more fun than undergoing general anesthesia.
It's human to let the pervasive cultural vibe impact us. It's natural, right? But one of the things that I like to think about a lot is, if I hear anti-aging one more time, it drives me insane. I'm like, yeah, maybe I wish I didn't have so many wrinkles, or maybe I wish, but at the end of the day, I have never been happier in my life. And I want to somehow, and I hope the storytelling event will end up attracting younger women, because I really want women to stop being afraid of aging because of, you know, the physical things that people so focus on. I want people to realize that, you know, like you and I, yeah, I have some challenges I wish I didn't have, but moreover, this is the most, I feel like the me that got buried a bit over the years as I was trying to prove and do and be and care for others. I feel like me, and it's the most happy time of my life.
Yeah,
And
and I think
yeah,
there's something very liberating, as I said earlier, like not having to take care of babies or children or go to PTA meetings and not having to take, I mean, I just came off of 4 years of taking care of an aging parent. And it's very liberating to reach this stage in my life and say, wait a second, I could do whatever I want to do. No one's telling me that I have to go to college, that I have to have, you know, there's no peer pressure to get married or have kids. I am writing the Silver Hair playbook, and everybody's playbook is a little bit different based on where they're coming from, where they want to go. But I'm certainly not done yet. And we have to like strike down some of the myths of aging. Um,
mhm.
and really celebrate our wrinkles, celebrate our scars, you know, not feel compelled to use the filter, not spend the $20,000 to have our, you know, necks tightened up. And to say, you know, $20,000, like what else could you do with that money that would make
Right. Well,
your
you gotta, what I love so much about your energy is also in your ever-present curiosity and openness and wanting to learn and experience new things. So many of us don't like that new, being the newbie to something. We're afraid we're supposed to know everything. I love more than anything, you know, this time, and I love what I see through you and the curiosity you show toward your life. And that's what we have to inspire in us all,
yes, and
to
create a whole new
see
lexicon.
possibility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
create a whole new lexicon. Like a senior moment is not forgetting something. A senior moment should be, you know, yeah, I have unlimited freedom and I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. So
Yeah.
we need to like really, when we, as I said earlier, when you see something, say something. And the more I've started doing that, the more confident I feel in doing that, because it is a matter of education and really engaging younger women in this mission as well, because they're going to age one day and they're going to get pushed out of their big corporate job or be shamed by a younger woman for not, you know, having the right hair or the right lashes or too many wrinkles. And if we don't stay together, um, there's no hope for this mission.
Well, I'm incredibly encouraged by a lot of the younger women I'm meeting these days who will literally say, you know, I was recently with a group of women over 60, and a younger woman in her 30s said, man, I'm almost excited to get older. You guys are really having a great time. And, you know, there's really this feeling of, you know, yeah, financially, we do have to be careful. And yes, financially, we do have to keep ourselves going. It's not always, you know, easy peasy for us. But at the same time, we are free to be who we are, probably for the first time in many of our
Well,
lives.
exactly. And we also need to be creative because gendered ageism is very real.
Yeah.
And I was recently thinking about, you know, as we head into another recession, I was thinking, all right, if I have to make additional money, because I don't want to collect Social Security yet, and you know, I don't want to live on a, you know, meager fixed income in a senior housing complex. I just can't see myself doing that. You know, I was looking into the requirements for being a substitute teacher, or there are a ton of jobs that older people can do where age is actually seen as a benefit. We don't have to work as a cashier in Target. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There are some days when I'm like, man, that would be a really fun job, and I'd get the employee discount. Um, but to really think that, the possibilities are unlimited, and just because we're 66 or 76 or 86, that we're done. And I love reading stories about women who reinvented themselves in later life. I mean, during the pandemic, I lost 25 pounds, which, a lot of people said was impossible to do once you hit a certain age and we were all on lockdown. But yeah, I mean, almost anything is possible if you commit to doing it. And the
Yeah.
danger is, as people get older, there are a lot of external forces that steal our mojo.
Yeah.
And we just all need to keep that mojo and boost each other's mojo and make sure
Love
that,
that. I love that.
that we become a real force field, as opposed to a group of invisible old crones that are marginalized in society.
Amen.
Not going to happen to me.
So I asked you earlier, and I'd love for you to share with us, if I were to have you create a bumper sticker that encapsulates and projects your life's philosophy. Tell us what it is.
Ooh, a bumper sticker that captures my life's philosophy. Actually, I don't have a bumper sticker, but I have vanity plates. My father's nickname for me was Nunu, Nunu. And he always encouraged me to do whatever I set my heart and my mind to do. So my license plate actually says "Go Nunu," and
Aw.
I also have a small tattoo that says Nunu. I'm on the verge of getting a tribute tattoo from my mother, which is going to say "Mom" facing one way and "Wow" facing the other. I've been doing some late life body mod, as they call it. I've been, getting some extra piercings in my ear. But yeah, they're all sort of like physical reminders that I'm not done. I'm far from done yet.
Love it. Nunu. Well, have a beautiful day. I love
Thank you. All right.
that.
Take care.
Thanks, Nancy.